The awareness of delusion allows wisdom and discernment to arise. You gotta be ignorant in order to learn. You gotta make mistakes in order to correct mistakes. I deluded myself into thinking that I was impermanent. I'll be fine. You lied to yourself, brother. And so that delusion with a clear conscience and an open heart has yielded the miraculous transformation I told you.
Welcome to Delusional. I'm your host, Michelle Coyle. I'm here with Reggie Hubbard. Reggie, please introduce yourself.
Peace and blessing. I'm Reggie Hubbard, the kindest, most benevolent agitator and shit talker you've ever met in your whole life.
This is going to be good, you guys. I'm so excited to have you on, Reggie, and talk about so many things. But I want to start with, you've had a remarkable health journey these last couple of years. You had a huge comeback. Will you tell a story for everybody?
Yeah, so March 31st, Easter Sunday, 2024, I'm in Southern Virginia with my family, nothing out of the ordinary, family, church, and go and hang out with folks. Me and my girlfriend were headed to a wedding in Jekyll Island, Georgia. And so we drive from Natural Bridge, Virginia, and stop in Columbia, South Carolina. Because it's impossible to drive. It's too far to go from Virginia to damn near Florida. And so around 4:30 in the morning on April 1st, 2024, I wake up to go to the restroom because as someone in his late 40s, early 50s now, you got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. This is part of the maturation process, I guess. And on the way, I go to the bathroom. On the way back from the bathroom, I hit the floor. And I'm like, okay, that was weird. That's interesting. And so I'm in the floor and I try to move my left leg and foot. Nothing happens. So I'm like, I'm having a motherfucking stroke. I'm having a stroke. Oh my God. And so anyway, I'm like, all right, okay, super serious now. How do I wake up my girlfriend without freaking her out? Because if she freaks out, I've got a really serious situation happening now where we've just got to be kind of methodical and precise, So I somehow wake her up, and as we've recounted the story to one another, I didn't tell her that I was having a stroke. I knew I was having the damn stroke. And but I did ask her, I was like, is my speech slurring? And luckily for me, she didn't know what I was asking. Right. But I did was like, is my speech slurring? And she's all over the place. I was like, focus. I was like, is my speech slurring? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. And so I get up out of the floor. I'm sitting in a chair. I have a sound bowl with me because I'm me. And I know in my spirit that shit is way different and shit is about to get super real. So this bowl here actually is the one that I had with me. And while she's packing up the hotel room, I'm like, she's like, what are you doing? I was like, this is bad. This is bad. And I gotta get my head right. Cause just, do you want to go to the doctor? I was like, no, but I have to, right? I'm black and in South Carolina. I don't want to go to the doctor. You kidding me? So I'm black and we're in the deep South. No, I don't want to go to the doctor, but I have to. And so we drive. So my leg comes back online and I'm just like, we got to go because I'm also huge. I'm 6'2" and 280. I'm a big dude. And walk out of the hotel. Luckily, we were 10 minutes away from the second best neurological unit in South Carolina, because we were near Columbia State Capitol. State Capitol tends to have a lot of those resources or whatever. Walk into the emergency room, admit myself, and while we're waiting, then shit just goes south. It just goes real bad real quick. And leg starts to just go again. I'm wheeled back into the ER. And next thing I know, I'm taped up, stuck, prodded, all this other stuff, all these beeps, all this other stuff. And my blood pressure spikes. Blood pressure is 270 over 190, like some number that is really, really not awesome. And the emergency room doctor looks at me like this. He sees death all the time, and something that's happening in my system is causing him alarm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I'm still conscious. I didn't lose consciousness at all in any of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so trauma doctor is looking at you, yoga man, and he has alarm. So if he is alarmed, you should be too. You better pray, you better figure something out, because like this is really, really serious. So I just start to I can't even describe it, but it was just kind of like connecting to something else. Because I was like, this is a problem. Me focusing on this isn't going to help anything. So I need to focus on something else. And by the grace of the universe, the blood clot went away. Blood pressure comes down. Clot breaks. Blood pressure goes down. They're pumping all this stuff into my body. But at that point, leg and foot are dead. And the neurologist comes in, and you're thinking that, yeah, maybe there's a chance I get out of here. I mean, because that's just a natural thing to think, especially if you hate hospitals. But neurologist comes in and says, Mr. Hubbard, there's zero chance of you leaving here today. And I was like, ooh, zero. Fuck. All right. Damn. So we clearly missed the wedding. And, I'm wheeled into ICU, and I pass out for a while because I just been through a fight, literally fighting for my life. Wake up, they come in, Mr. Hubbard, you've had a parietal lobe stroke on the right, all this stuff they're throwing at me, like there's a hypertensive diagnosis, there's a diabetic, like all this stuff is coming at me. And admittedly, and I think this is important, especially for you political activists out there, I didn't really go to the doctor. I don't really trust him. I do now because I kind of have to, but I didn't until my incident. And so I didn't really know that I had the level of hypertension that I had, even though both my parents have it. I didn't know that my blood was thick because of excess sugar and carbohydrates, right? Like I wasn't aware because I just wasn't tracking that stuff. And as I have reflected over where those bad decisions came from, they were rooted in likely the sudden death of my cousin in 2021. So levels of grief from having the equivalent of my brother just be out like that. I poured myself into my work. I launched my yoga teaching practice. Like I launched all these things. So my grief I threw into creative endeavors almost at the cost of my life. Right. So when the doctor comes in and is like, Mr. Hubbard, you've had a stroke. I'm just kind of like, thanks. I knew that, but thank you for that. And they start saying all this stuff about, parietal lobe this and hypertension that. That's a lot to come at you when you almost died 9-10 hours before. And so I go to my girlfriend. I was like, could you reach over and hand me that bowl? And so I was like, okay, doc, say it again. So he's saying all this stuff, and I'm like, as he's saying all of this hard information. I know they thought I was weird. I honestly don't give a shit. But I was just like, because I know that I have to hear you. Like, I don't want to face this, but I have to. And the only way I can do it is if I'm calm. So that's the one thing. The other thing, too, is that I just had a brain injury. I just had total neurological devastation. If I don't find a way to not be stressed, I'm not going to heal. And so from the moment of the stroke throughout the early stages of my recovery, I was in deep sound and deep meditation. So the trajectory from then to now is rooted in that awareness. So first of all, I was supposed to be in intensive care and step down is what they call it for I think 9 days or so. I was there for 4. And then me and Alexis had to get from Columbia, South Carolina to Washington, D.C. There's no interstate ambulatory service, right? There's none of that. So they discharged me in serious and barely stable condition. And we drive from Columbia, South Carolina to Washington, D.C. Deepest meditative practice of my life. I basically looked at my girlfriend and was just like, look, you need to drive as fast as you need to drive. Go for it. I'm going to be here like this because the stroke was on damn Monday. Like it's Friday. Like I'm only 4 days out. And through some miracle, make it all the way to be received into inpatient rehab in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. I guess that would be the 6th of April. Yeah, the 6th. And so we get there and I'm supposed to be an inpatient for like 9 days. I'm there for 4. And part of it is, even throughout the course of my acute recovery and long-term recovery, it's been like the deepest yogic and meditative practice of my life. Like on day 1, when I'm broken up and like can't walk and I'm a fall risk because my left leg isn't working. So I can't get out of the bed. I have to pee into a damn plastic. It's just all this stuff that, the day before I was fine and then I'm just not. So I did have a moment of woe is me, but then I recognized that and made a strong choice in my mind. I was like, I'm not a victim here. Like this circumstance, I survived it and I will survive. And not only that, I will view this entire experience as how is this happening for me as opposed to why is this happening to me. And I said that to Alexis. I was just like, look, I need to say this. Like, I need to declare this. Like, this recovery is rooted in how is this happening for me? And that has been instructive because I needed to slow my ass down. I needed to eat better. Like, I needed to get my hypertension. There are things that I needed to do that stroke got me aware of. So all of these things, these milestones that I keep smashing through are because I've been radically honest, radically present, and not afraid of either voicing or being with dark and difficult things.
Beautiful, beautiful. And now, less than 2 years later, how's your recovery coming?
I mean, it's the biggest miracle you know about, right? Like I am self-sufficient. I have exploded as a teacher. I didn't really plan on that, but I can speak to chronic illness. I can speak to near-death experience. I can speak to, especially in activist spaces, when people are like, I don't have time for that. I was like, what you don't have time for is to have a motherfucking stroke. You know what I mean? Like, don't get that ignorance out of here. Like, you can say that to other people, but don't you dare say that to me. Like I got grays in this beard. Like, you know what I mean? You do not want to go what I just went through because you don't have the tools. You don't have the tools of mindfulness. You don't have grace for yourself to look at your shitty mistakes and be like, well, at least I got a second chance. You know what I mean? Like, so don't let your ignorance and your delusion into thinking that you're invincible get you into a situation that could have been avoided. So it has allowed me to be an advocate. I'm a better advocate for healthcare. Standing up for the Affordable Care Act was the right thing to do early in my advocacy career. That bill saved my life. It kept me from financial ruin. So I can speak to that with not only the passion of an activist, but the wisdom of a survivor. It has made me aware that I'm not going to be here forever. So there's work that I got to do, and I'm here to do it. If you are aligned with the work that I do, let's get it. If you're not aligned with the work, get out of my way.
Feel that, felt that. And the reason that you and I connected in the first place was because we became Facebook friends somehow, who knows. And
Hmm.
I saw a post about your work and about your transition from politics and political advocacy into being a yoga teacher and into the healing space. And I didn't know anyone else besides myself that had gone on that journey from moving from politics and into I like to call it woo woo, into the kind of the
Hmm.
and I was like, and I immediately wrote you and was like, hey, I know this is weird, but can we get on a phone call and like just
Right.
meet each other?
Yeah.
And we immediately were like, oh yeah, we're so aligned and we're working on a lot of the same stuff, in some ways coming from different angles, but working on
Totally.
something similar because I spent 20 plus years in the political space watching everybody kill themselves quickly, slowly, whatever, burn
Hmm.
themselves out. From the left, there was this ethos of you're sacrificing for the movement, you're sacrificing your compensation for the movement. Almost everyone I know that works in politics could have made a lot more money doing almost anything else, in spite of what people think about how much money everybody makes in politics. That there's
Right.
a lot of sacrifice there. You're sacrificing your time, you're sacrificing your a lot of times the ability to be present with your family, or even I know many people that have decided not to have children at all, not to get married at all. It's really like all
Hmm.
in for the work. And I started to see, and I'm 44, so I'm only a few years younger than you, but I started to see people my age having the strokes and the heart attack. And I was just like, this is not fucking okay.
No, no. Hmm.
And at what point do we take a step back and address and say, hey, people are literally dying for this. And there's a difference
Right.
between
For what?
acting
Right.
for what? Well, right. Like, because if you're a freedom fighter and you're putting your body on the line, hey, I'm going to put myself in physical danger for a cause. That's a very intentional choice. That's a very different thing than, hey, I'm actually going to spend 10, 15, 20 years killing myself super slowly and thinking,
Right.
I'll sleep tomorrow. I'll sleep tomorrow. Um, and I got so close to all of these people. Politics is a very small industry.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm looking around and seeing people that I have loved for decades now literally hurting themselves, killing themselves. And why? It's not actually more effective. It's not actually more efficient. We're not actually like winning more because we're doing this. I would argue that we're losing more because we're doing this.
Absolutely.
I'll stop talking and let you talk and tell me what
No.
you saw and where was the inflection point for you to say I'm moving out of this and more toward this
Well,
healing?
the thing that the blessing of my experience is that I never, and I'm still involved in politics to some extent, not like I was, but I was able to merge my wellness and meditative practices with my political practices,
Mhm.
right? And merge all the wisdom from spiritual traditions into my activism. So, like,
Mhm.
I regularly am called on by people in the movement or members of Congress, or even like people in the game, either from the consultant class or from the electeds or staffers. They're like, I don't feel so hot, you know what I mean? Like, or, I'm killing myself. And how do I get better habits? Because I've got the bona fides, you know what I mean? Like, one of my biggest accomplishments as an activist is I was one of the lead strategists that helped impeach the motherfucker the first go around, you know what I mean? So when Rashida Tlaib was like, we're going to go impeach that, like, that was my party. Like, that came
Mhm.
out of my budget. And when she said, we're going to go impeach the motherfucker, she goes like this and hands the mic to me because I
Mhm.
was the MC,
Mhm.
right? So many activists talk a good game, but when I can point to, like, you see that piece of paper, we did that,
Mhm.
and then I'm like, so my meditation practice and my yoga practice gave me the clarity of mind for that result.
Mhm.
You should invest in that. If you want results, you want to do historic stuff, take care of your mind and your body.
Mhm.
You want to be an also ran, run yourself into the ground.
Mhm.
Because people, for better or for worse, have a measure of ego in this game, and I can speak directly to that ego with love. Another thing that I noticed is that to take the other approach to that, some people just don't know. We're not taught that you chain smoking is, you think that the cigarette is calming your nerves. The deeper respiration is calming your nerves.
Mhm.
The cigarette is something that you use to create community. You are using the vehicle of this to create community with your smoke break buddies, or rather than just saying, I'm going to go for a walk, like that call was some bullshit. Like, you're like, right? So you are at once calming your nervous system, but jacking your nervous system with so we aren't taught that. Mm-hmm. And so I feel it necessary as an OG in this game, someone in their 50s who's still talking to these people. I'm just like, so the amount of money that you waste on alcohol, you could buy a house. The amount of money that you waste on cigarettes, you know what I mean? You can take a deep breath, go for a walk, and not kill yourself, you know what I mean? And it's an honor for me to speak to folks like that. I gave a talk recently to a bunch of activists in their 20s, and they didn't respond to me, which is these young folks. Like, I know I'm solidly Generation X, and so like some of these young folks, they didn't respond, they didn't have any questions, and they looked like they were bored. I just got on them and was just like, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I would love to tell you that I give a shit that you don't care. You're too cool for school. I don't care. I'm actually not talking for you. I'm talking because when I was your age, no one told me any of this shit. Mm-hmm. So whether this matters to you or not, thank you for being part of my full circle spiritual experience. So it may not be cool for you, but I found healing in this motherfucker. So, and they were like, yeah. I'm not impressed by you. Seriously, you too cool for school. So anyway, even though I was like someone's uncle acting like that, I think it's a blessing to be able to do that, right? So to give someone that an opportunity that I did not have in my spiritual work, like that brings a level of full circle. And when you have full circle moments, when something comes to a close by spiritual law, something else will open.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And I find, similar meaning in my work. I'm allowing and guiding people not to not make any mistakes, because that's how we learn, right?
It's a human experience, right?
When I started, by the way, I thought, I made all the mistakes so you don't have to. And I can just it was like more consulting. I was like, I'll just tell you what to do and what not to do. And I quickly realized that no, people need to have their own experiences. They're on their own path. You can't really save somebody from the path. You can help guide them, and maybe they learn the lesson a little faster, right? And so the nature of my work changed as it got more deeper into mindset coaching, as we brought spirituality in. It's like, hey, I'm here with you, walking next to you, helping guide you, but you gotta, you're picking your own path, you're learning your own lessons. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of here to help encourage you, shine a lantern, whatever we need to do, right? Let's take it a little bit deeper, because we're talking about the physical health aspects of if you're healthy, if you're aligned, you're going to be more effective in this work. But also if you are, I'll say clear, right? If you are able to approach activist work from a space of more pure intention, where it's just really thought out, because you've cleared away all of the baggage, all of the trauma shit, you're healed. I mean, none of us are 100% healed. We're not Buddha. I'm not claiming that you or I or anybody doesn't still have shit to work on. Right. And if we've worked on a lot of our shit, we're conscious of it, we're aware of it as it comes up, we're able to project differently onto the work and work with more intention and work in a way that's more efficient and effective than if we are hitting it from a place of our trauma baggage and in a way that makes it constantly triggering for us, where we're just constantly in that state of fight or flight. And I would tell you, 99% of the activists that I see are still in that place of, I'm coming at it from my baggage, I'm in my fight or flight, I am hurting myself physically, spiritually, psychologically in order to do this work. And I'm motivated from that place of baggage, which makes it really, really hard to release.
Right. So one of the best pieces of advice that I got about activism was from someone that wasn't an activist. And it was after all the stuff that I was involved in the impeachment process. So you can imagine the whirlwind of on January 3rd, 2019, Rashida being like, we're going to impeach him. We had 4 votes. Mm-hmm. We had 4 or 5 votes. We needed to get to 218. We had 4. And, so that set off like a whole bunch of grassroots organizing and all this stuff. And by the end of the year, December the 19th, we got 231. And he was impeached in the House. So in the midst of that, I was in my 300-hour yoga teacher training. So I'm Move On's Washington, D.C. director. And like I'm in advanced yoga teacher training at the same time. So think that's like all like think of just being ripped open in all these different ways. However, to your point, I could approach that swirl with clarity. One of the best compliments I received in my political work was from Ayanna Pressley, and sister was like, Reggie, let me tell you something about you. And at first I was like, what did I do wrong? You know what I mean? Like I thought we was cool. And she was like, no, you are so cool that the blood pressure drops when you walk in the room. Like you've got presence that like when you walk in, people are like, So you are clearly doing inner work that you can be in this crazy place, so grounded that like we listen to you and we don't listen to anybody. I was just like hilarious. So I go through that whole thing individually, collectively. And in 2020, February, the Senate votes to not carry it forward or whatever. And so in my mind, like I was going to go on Yogic Shangri-La, but March 2020, everything changed.
Right.
So the last, I had like 3 retreats booked, like I was going on this whole thing. The first one that I went to, this dude comes up to me and is just like, I heard a little bit about your story. Do you mind if I give you some advice? And I was like, at first I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I see you in these streets, you know what I mean? So I was like in this whole adversarial, combative, activist mind. And then I was just like, we're at a yoga retreat center. Don't curse nobody out. Maybe he has something cool to say. And I was like, you know what? Sure. He was like, rather than thinking about activism as a fight, what if you thought of it as a creative opportunity? What if you thought of it as a party, or you thought of it as a dance? And I was like, tell me more. And, you can recruit more people to a creative endeavor. You can, let's fight. Aren't you tired of fighting? You know what I mean? So like what I can do now, or what I have done in my activist work, is that I'm building stuff. I'm creating things. Like this teaching practice, Active Peace, started out in a small room in an abandoned church during the pandemic, where I go to the church and was just like, since no one's coming here, I'll slide you some money per month if I can use that room. So being wildly creative and building something has yielded like a teaching practice that has exploded in 5 years. And in my activist work, like everyone, if I'm involved in something, they're just like, oh shit, Reggie's involved. Oh, so we're building some stuff, right? So like it's a whole different mindset shift. And that is only because I'm not looking at what I'm afraid of. To be afraid in the human experience is natural. However, fear cannot drive the car. Fear can be in the passenger seat at best. It's better if it's in the back seat because you can just be like, enough. But for fear to drive the car, it makes you overly reactive. For creativity and curiosity to drive the car, you can be like, fear, so tell me what you see. All right, cool. Respect. Thank you. And then creativity and curiosity is like, I've heard fear. Vision, what do you have to say? Instinct, what do you have to say? Data, what do you have to say? So the deep work has allowed me to hold fear, creativity, vision, and instinct together to make wise choices, as opposed to coming from my wounding and why isn't anybody coming? Because you're screaming at people.
Yeah.
And your energy is not welcoming.
Right. Well, and you are going to attract some people, but you're going to attract people that match that vibration. And so if you're projecting from this wounded place of fear and scarcity and anxiety, you're going to get a lot of other people that are afraid and feeling scarcity and anxiety. And now there's a whole room of you, and now we're feeding off of each other. And I feel like that is what has really happened to the left in large part, especially in the last
and
year.
no one's focusing on winning.
Yeah, they're focusing on like loss prevention, right?
Absolutely. Right.
And I love that you brought up the fear thing. It's a personal mantra of mine. I've talked about it on the show before. As I'll tell myself, I don't make decisions based on fear. Point blank, period. It's a boundary that I have with myself.
Sure.
And when I find myself in internal conflict, and we've got all kinds of tools to work through that, and the first thing I ask myself is one of these parts coming from a place of fear? Because that's the one that I'm saying, okay, I just don't, hard, fast boundary. I just don't make decisions based on fear. We have to come from clarity. Now, when we talk about this stuff to folks that are in a place of baggage, scarcity, fear, that's how they're vibrating, this can be very, very triggering. It can feel like erasure of their feelings. It can feel
or
like
condescending.
Toxic positivity, comes up. It's like, oh, I'm just supposed to feel better. And, don't you see what's happening, Reggie? Don't you see that they hate us? Don't you see that they're trying to kill us?
Yeah.
And
as I tell folks, I'm 50 years old and black. Yes, I see.
Yes, I get it. Yeah. So it's yeah, I'm a Jew. And a woman.
Yeah.
And a girl with boobs.
Right.
So
right.
Red hair and big boobs and big eyes. Been in this body 44 years. Yeah, I see.
Right.
And, right? I like to put an and where there's been an or, where there's been a but, right? So how do you address from that standpoint of saying, yes, I get it. Yes, I see. Yes, I'm a 50-year-old black man. I see.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start to bridge that conversation of, and I need you to come with me over here. We need to start getting healed.
One of the things I ask is like, what's also true? Mm-hmm. What is also true? Mm-hmm. I teach a lot of gratitude stuff, and I teach it in turn. I had my gratitude practice is what got me out of the depths of my stroke recovery, mm-hmm. because I could have been like, woe is me, blah, 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 blah. But I'm just like, I can still do this. Or this is still happening. So they're trying to kill us, blah, 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 blah. And mm-hmm. are you aware, especially if there's, for my data folks, I was just like, what are the trend lines for doing something optimistic? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, yeah, it's true, recently, the Trump era, blah, 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 they're doing this, they're doing this. We beat them before. Mm-hmm. Or, for folks who are younger than me, I have the benefit of having heard my ancestors' stories. So the current tactics of the administration are the old playbooks. So family separation, forced deportation, the way that the master class is using the government to advance its own aims, mm-hmm. that's as American as the Declaration of Independence. Mm-hmm. But what's equally as American is people coming together, looking them in the face and being like, no. Mm-hmm. So to focus only on what has gone wrong, to not see what is also going well, to not be able to hold that balance, is not only delusional, but that's part of self-destruction. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of creating a negative outcome, refusing to see the positive because you think it is overly celebrating the negative to the detriment of what's happening positively means that nothing positive will happen.
100%. Now, you're using delusional in a negative way. We use it in the positive way here, and we're saying mm-hmm. the same thing, which is, look, any one of us is limited to our own perception. None of us is able to actually see, hear, feel, experience, understand every single thing that's going on all the way around us. Our mm-hmm. unconscious mind is deleting a lot of it all the time. And there's just experiences that we haven't had. We see the world the way that we see the world. And so knowing that I have a narrow worldview, you have a narrow worldview, we can only perceive what we can perceive. We can try to open it a little bit, open up the aperture a little bit. But it's what you see is what you get. What you look for is what you see. What you focus on is what you experience. And so if I'm focused on the negative, they're trying to kill us, that's what I'm going to see. If I
And
focus
that's all
on
you're going to see. Yeah.
positive, and this is where our positive delusional concept comes in for the show, I can just take my little narrow scope. If you guys are just listening, I'm just holding my hands up in front of my face. I can take my narrow scope, I can just move it over here, and I can say, I'm going to see what's good. And I'm going to focus on what's good, and I'm going to experience what's good. And that way, more good is going to come into my life. I'm going to have a ripple effect of positive impact when I'm focused on the positive. And I can be delusional this way just as fucking easily as I could have been delusional this way. Right?
Yeah, and I just want to say quickly, like, I don't say delusional in a negative way. Like, from a Buddhist perspective, delusion is necessary for wisdom to take hold, right? The awareness of delusion allows wisdom and discernment to arise.
Yes. Right? Say more about that.
Yeah, so you got to be ignorant in order to learn, right? You got to make mistakes in order to correct mistakes.
Yes.
So I deluded myself into thinking that I was impermanent. I'll be fine. You lied to yourself, brother. And so that delusion with a clear conscience and an open heart has yielded the miraculous transformation I told you. So me being honest about my delusion, I was totally tripping. I missed that. Like me being, okay, wow. Allowed the wisdom to take root that has fueled my renaissance. You know, and like, I also love the frame that you put forth in that it was delusional when I was younger for a black boy to think he could go to an Ivy League school. All right, it was delusional when I started my teaching practice 5 years ago. If you had told me 5 years ago, yeah, man, you're going to start this thing in a pandemic, so like you're going to be by yourself and you're going to talk through that dot on a computer to people all over the world, and you're going to create such a jolt in like the wellness and political industry that like political folks call you to help them find peace, and spiritual folks, they don't call you, but you just kick in the door and being like, oh, you're sitting on your cushion. Could you come join this protest? You know what I mean? Or could you speak your values as opposed to sitting on them? And be featured in like Meditation Magazine and Yoga Alliance and right? Like if you had told me that 5 years ago, I'd have been like, that's pretty delusional. But when I quit my job at Move On, when Biden and Harris won, after being one of the Sherpas through the first resistance, like, and I was like, I'm gonna bet on myself. Like, you know, if I keep doing what y'all are doing, I'm not gonna be happy. So I'm delusional to think that I can create a life for myself doing politics and strategy and yoga and meditation. That was delusional until Active Peace blew everybody away.
And one of the things I love about you, and, you know, I'll say you have this in common with many people that have been on this show as guests, you could look at somebody who did one delusional thing in their life and say, okay, they got lucky or the stars aligned or whatever. But you're an example of somebody who, like you said, you came from where you came from, you got to the Ivy League school. I know I've seen a picture of you in front of the Obama plane, like you were riding on the plane with Obama. And so not only did you then, so there's the Ivy League school delusion, there's the like top, you know, Obama advisor, without a lot of experience in politics before that. I remember that trajectory being pretty steep. And then now we're, you know, in Yoga Magazine, right? It's like you like hit the top of several different things. And so now we're saying, okay, this is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is not stars aligning. This guy has figured something out that most people haven't figured out. So what's the thing that you figured out that most people haven't figured out?
Your body never lies to you. Like when I knew, it's funny because I now have no problem quitting jobs or quitting projects or those sorts of things. Like you and I talked about this before, like people think you have to do the same thing forever. Like when I was at Move On, and even though it looked like Biden and Harris were going to win, in my heart and in my gut, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And then my boss or whatever, they called themselves my boss. When they said they were my boss, I was like, I work for me. Right. Even in an organization, I was like, I work for me. You just happen to be, there's this org chart that y'all care about that I don't really care about. Like,
Yeah.
I work for me.
You're just lucky enough to have me here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when they came to me after the election and were like, you can either do live streams or keep your political portfolio. I was like, I just did both.
Mm-hmm.
And I just built both.
Mm-hmm.
I built your live stream relevance. I built your relevance in the 116th Congress. And you're telling me that it's either or?
Mm-hmm.
The question isn't whether I want to do this or this. The question is, do I even want to work with you anymore?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the look on his face of, yeah, do I even want to work with you anymore?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is no. Here's my letter of resignation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I knew 6 months before I gave them my letter of resignation, I was like, this is ending. This is ending. I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so my instinct has never failed me.
Mm-hmm.
1. 2 is that I remember, like you talk about the steep curve in my political trajectory. I started out as a volunteer on the John Kerry campaign in 2004, February of 2004. Mm-hmm. By July, I was traveling staff. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing all of these miraculous things for somebody else. Around my mid-30s, I was like, if everything I pour my energy into externally is dope, then what if I say enough of y'all, I'm going to pour that into this guy? Mm-hmm. Because y'all get funny and want to act like you doing all this. Okay. So I noticed too that every project I left fell. Mm-hmm. Like when I left, you name the job, there's several of them. When I left that thing, it went from being like the top to irrelevant. Mm-hmm. So once I noticed that, I'm like, okay, so why am I even investing my brilliance in you? Mm-hmm. I'm going to invest my brilliance in me. Mm-hmm. And investing it in me, not from an egotistical standpoint, but from my abundance, then serving other people. Right? So all this sound stuff, like all the wisdom that I've now acquired, it's not for me, it's for other people. Mm-hmm. Right? So I began to build the virtuous circle of investing in my own wisdom, my own health, my own well-being, rather than so-and-so's campaign, or hopefully you'll get me a job, hopefully mm-hmm. this, hopefully that. Mm-hmm. I started building structures and reputation to where people are like, the way my life is now, people are like, I heard about you from so-and-so. Are you interested in this? Mm-hmm. And so I have the list. So someone asked me recently, like, do you do analysis work for nonprofits that are seeking to have a merger? And I looked at them and I was like, it depends if I like them or not. And she was like, what do you mean? I was just like, take a hint, right? Like, so I clearly like you because I gave you that answer. Mm-hmm. I was like, if I didn't like you, I would have been like, no.
Nope.
She's like, yeah, I figured with an MBA or whatever. Like, I didn't go get my MBA to do shitty projects. Like, I like you and want to help you in y'all's mission, so I'll think about it, But so the trick is that my instincts, and also once I started to invest in my own success and I saw it, I never second guessed it. Mm-hmm. That's the job of the outside world. Oh, this'll never. Mm-hmm. You may be right, but you may be dead ass wrong. And if you're dead ass wrong, why am I going to cheat myself because you're wrong? I'd rather prove myself wrong.
You're taking me to church over here. I'm like, preach. And what's coming up for me as you're talking, and, I've been on a similar journey of just pouring into myself lately, which, that you have to battle a lot of demons to be able to do that. There's a lot of people telling you
internal and external
that's selfish and that's bullshit and that you're delusional and you're this. And you go, no, I got to take care of me first before I can take care of any of y'all. And that's one of the fucked up things that's going on in the activist community. People trying to take care of everybody else.
but on
Not
themselves.
even thinking about taking care of themselves and wondering why they're not doing a good job of taking care of everybody else. You have to take care of yourself before you can
Totally.
take care of anybody else.
Totally.
It's got to start
Totally.
here, friends. It's got to start here. Reggie, I could talk to you for 17 hours and we're at time today. But can you
Hmm.
tell folks if they want to find out more about you and your work, where can they find you on the internet? Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, so Active Peace Yoga is the website that gives a little bit of information about my teaching practice. If you look up Reggie Hubbard, there's one of me, right? Reggie Hubbard, yoga, the Venn diagram of yoga, meditation, and political strategy, there's one. But Active Peace Yoga or Reggie Global on Instagram, yeah, those are two of the best ways.
There's absolutely only one of you in this entire world, and I'm so happy that you spent your time with us today. Thank you so much for being on the show, Reggie.
My honor.
And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.